Previously on Supergirl, the show toyed with the idea of not sucking quite so much. Were they able to follow through on that? No, they were not. Let's dive back in, shall we? We pick up right where the last episode left off, with Supergirl about to throw down with Astra's husband, Nan. They get right into it and proceed to have a really weird fight that looks good in long shots but hilariously awkward in close-ups. Not unlike the show it takes place in, this fight is much better viewed from a distance. Since Nan is a trained soldier and Supergirl is a glorified secretary, he wins the fight pretty decisively, then takes Henshaw hostage for good measure just because he can. And then he just leaves. He's won the fight, has Supergirl at his mercy, there's no one who can do anything to stop him, but rather than finish them right then and there like a competently written villain, he just f***s off when confronted by a couple DEO agents sporting guns that shoot bullets that would bounce right off him. At least when Fohawk ran from the DEO and the pilot, they had a helicopter. What's this guy's excuse?
I ordered him to spare you.
Not the DEO field agents, though. F*** those guys. So with the boss now a hostage, the DEO is left in disarray, and naturally, Alex, who performs every duty under the sun in this organization, somehow has no idea what the chain of command is.
Who's in charge now? I don't know.
Gee, I wonder. So for lack of a solid lead on Henshaw's whereabouts, Kara goes to talk to Astra, and unfortunately, the producers must have watched the previous episode where the actress actually showed some genuine human emotion for the first time and were like, no, we can't have that. Which means that this week, Astra is once again in a breakneck race with a bottle of NyQuil to see who can put me to sleep faster.
You're trying to manipulate my emotions.
Well, that would require you having some, so I'm gonna say no. And it goes downhill from there, I'm afraid, because the only thing worse than this actress reciting lifeless wooden dialogue while not bothering to emote is her acting opposite herself in dual roles reciting lifeless wooden dialogue while not bothering to emote. Hardly a photo finish, but James thinks we're in need of a photographer anyway. Maxwell Lord is lying to the media to cover up the attack on his building, which makes Team Supergirl all kinds of suspicious, so James has the brilliant plan to dust off his camera and start asking questions. Because the man who hates Supergirl more than anyone else on this show would just love to talk to Superman's pal about how he almost died in an alien attack due to Supergirl's failure to stop it, am I right?
I like your plan, except it sucks.
So yeah. That does not go well for James. And yet he's still having a better morning than Kara. In the last episode, Kat found out that she's Supergirl because Kara kinda sucks at keeping a secret.
I can keep a secret.
No, you can't.
Well, at least they're not in denial about it. If only Kara could take a hint. Because God forbid she be an adult about this, Kara has gone to a level of denial so pathetic, I'm not sure who it's meant to be more insulting to, Kat or the viewer. To her credit, Kat is having none of this, so if Kara wants to rectify the situation, she's gonna have to actually use her brain.
Yeah, she's doomed.
Back at the DEO, Nan calls them up, because he just has their number on his phone apparently, secret organization my ass, and wants to set up a trade. Astra for Henshaw. Of course, Astra's a valuable prisoner and potential source of intel, so they can't just give her up, but they can't leave Henshaw to get killed by Nan either. It's a really tough spot to be in, but at least they can take comfort in the fact that things have already gotten so bad they couldn't possibly get any. Well, when it rains, it pours, doesn't it? So, General Lane is back, and sporting a brand spanking new presidential order giving him full command of the DEO. Because after the Red Tornado operation was an outright disaster with an uncontrollable killing machine being set loose upon the city, putting thousands of lives in danger due entirely to his baffling incompetence, the Commander-in-Chief has decided that he should be given even more responsibility. Because who better to navigate the DEO through a crisis than a stubborn, intractable dumbass who treats the organization with utter contempt and has made it no secret that he wants to shut the whole place down.
Oh, by the way, I was being sarcastic.
Wow. We've only heard secondhand references to this president so far, but she is not making a good impression. Donald Trump's approval ratings would look good by comparison at the rate she's going. Anyway, now that the general is in charge, he has a very strange conversation with Astra about how he was taught to be afraid of aliens by the film The Day the Earth Stood Still. Huh. I've never seen the original, only the remake. Still, I feel like there's some low-hanging fruit here for a Keanu Reeves joke, but... damn. I got nothing. When talking about his favorite movies gets him nowhere with the helpless prisoner, the general has his men hold her down so he can torture her. Kara, of course, is horrified by this despite the fact that she herself threatened Astra with a strong-arming not 15 minutes earlier, but now that the general is doing it, all of a sudden that's a bad thing.
Stop it, you're hurting her. And General, we are better than this.
And maybe I'll have my cousin come down and the two of us can force you to talk.
Kara's ridiculous hypocrisy notwithstanding, injecting their Kryptonian prisoner with liquid kryptonite seems like a really terrible idea. She's their only leverage in this situation, and for all the general knows, this could kill her. And if she dies, there goes the only card they had to play, so Henshaw's a dead man. Not surprisingly, it feels like the general put no thought into this whatsoever, and just went the draconian route because, well, he wants to close this department down anyway, so who gives a shit?
I am a man of honor.
So Astra gives up the location of her people, and the general sends a team to go fight them. He is then shocked and butthurt to learn that Alex pulled rank and got Supergirl to accompany them because, you know, they'll probably need her help if they want any hope of surviving this suicide mission. I repeat, the general sent a team of non-powered humans to fight a small army of superpowered Kryptonians. This went horribly wrong for the DEO the last time they tried it, but the difference, you see, is that last time they had to rush into battle at a moment's notice to save lives, whereas this time they're acting upon intel taken under extreme duress from a prisoner who has every reason in the world to lead them into a trap. Spoiler, Astra leads them into a trap. Not to be outdone in the game of bad decisions, James is perturbed that Lord wouldn't talk to him and hatches a plan to break into Lord's building.
It's a bad plan.
Man, the stupid really is growing like a weed in this one, isn't it? Let's break this scene down piece by piece, because there's a massive dump truck full of idiocy on display here, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't point out every last bit of it. First of all, this plan, and I use that word loosely, is predicated not on actual evidence, but on a bunch of bullshit James just pulled out of his ass. He's convinced that Lord is planning a countermove against the Kryptonians. Not that Lord said this, mind you. All he said was he'd do what needs to be done, which could mean literally anything. But since James has this pathetic need to feel useful all of a sudden, he just starts making assumptions. And even if he turns out to be right about this later, the point is he couldn't possibly know that now, which is just lazy writing. And in the event that he is right, I missed the part where a countermove against the evil alien criminals who murdered a bunch of people in the last episode and almost murdered a whole lot more people in the climax of this episode was a bad thing. Clearly something has to be done about these assholes, and the general sure as hell isn't up to the task, so unless you plan on calling Superman to help take these guys down, James, which you apparently can't do because he's a huge dick, then maybe you should just leave Lord alone so he can do what he does. But f*** that noise, James is dead set on doing this break-in, without telling Kara, by the way, so he can't even count on her for help if he gets into trouble. And oh my, is he asking for trouble. Second, James has Wynn work out a way to get him inside based on surveillance photos he took. Said surveillance photos are nothing but close-ups of the security cameras which tell Wynn absolutely nothing he couldn't have learned by looking up what model these cameras are with a fucking Google search. Now, if James had some wide shots of the building at least, Wynn might be able to extrapolate a potential blind spot in the camera's field of vision or something. That would at least sound semi-reasonable, but it would also require actual thought. And God knows we can't have any of that on this show now, can we? Third, we have Wynn, who took less than half a season to officially become the Felicity of Supergirl, meaning that he's able to solve virtually any problem that comes up by using a computer like a magic fucking wand. The most advanced security system there is, according to Maxwell Lord, circumvented by Wynn so quickly and so easily it's downright laughable. This doesn't make Wynn look great at what he does, it just makes the whole scene incredibly contrived and patronizing. Then James kicks the doorknob off the handle, because security guards won't hear that and respond or anything, and waltzes into this highly secure facility with no gloves, no mask, nothing to conceal his identity whatsoever, and no thought given to what he should do if security guards find him and he gets captured. Spoiler, security guards find him and he gets captured. Great plan, genius.
People this stupid shouldn't be allowed to live.
Calling this operation half-assed would be giving it way more credit than it deserves. This was so lame-brained I was actually rooting for Lord to cave in James's skull with that wrench. Hey Max, buddy, I understand you really wanting to feed Team Supergirl a knuckle sandwich, and more sympathetic I could not be, but here's an idea so crazy it just might work. Call the police and have James arrested for breaking and entering. All the evidence you'd need for a conviction is right there, and just like that, his career is over, his credibility destroyed, he'd probably serve time for it, pretty much guarantees he'll never try any shit like this again. Oh, but just punching him a few times, destroying the evidence and letting him go with a warning. That works too, I guess. At this point, Kat Grant's about as sick of this episode's bullshit as I am, and she thinks Kara's wasting her time working for Catco when she could be out helping people. Because that's something Kat cares about all of a sudden? Could have fooled me. And since Kara can't prove that she's not Supergirl, Kat fires her. This has wrongful termination lawsuit written all over it, but who the hell are we kidding? Kara doesn't have to deal with Kat anymore now. Kat just did Kara the biggest favor of her life. But she's still upset about it for some reason. Add that to all the other stuff she's upset about, including her mom not being who she thought she was, because episode-to-episode continuity is supposed to matter all of a sudden after 8 episodes of it being treated with about as much importance as a vestigial tale, and Kara's feeling pretty down in the dumps, which can only mean that it's time for her weekly nauseating pep talk about, yep, you guessed it.
Even when things look the bleakest, heroes find a way.
So emboldened by her double dose of emotional validation for the week, Kara goes back to Astra saying that she still has faith in her. And because Astra's lapping that NyQuil bottle so fast that she's reversing the rotation of the Earth and turning back time, this triggers another flashback where Kara's mom says that she believes her sister about Krypton's fate and will fight for Astra's cause through compassion.
It is the only hope to save our world.
Then Kara goes against orders, breaks Astra out of her cell, and heads off to meet with Nan to make the exchange, because the United States has no policy against negotiating with terrorists. Oh, wait. Look at the general here. This is one of his own agents, a helpless prisoner they need alive because she's their only bargaining chip, and a woman who's bulletproof. What does he think pointing guns at them is going to accomplish? What a fucking goober. So they do the exchange, without even bothering to make sure Henshaw isn't a hologram this time like he was when they walked into a trap 10 minutes earlier, and then the twist that everyone except our quote-unquote heroes saw coming a mile away happens.
How do you know Nan and his army won't betray you?
I don't. But I have faith.
So Nan betrays them because Kara's a dumbass, and only calls off his goons because Astra still has just enough affection for her that she doesn't want her niece to die at her husband's hands. How touching? And because when he competes in the Idiot Olympics, he goes for the gold, goddammit, before the general mercifully fucks off, he reminds everyone that the enemy cannot be reasoned with 30 seconds after the enemy was successfully reasoned with. Good contribution, General. Feel free to step on a landmine on your way out. So Henshaw comes clean about being a Martian, he impersonates Supergirl so Kara can get her job back, Clark says that blood bonds them and he learned that from Kara, even though they did a whole episode about her getting butthurt and offended when he had the audacity to save her life, Lord has a corpse he's gonna turn into a weapon, and finally, the episode comes to a close. My God, that was awful. More than any episode that came before it, Blood Bonds perfectly demonstrates how the people making this show just cannot make up their minds about anything. I honestly think the writers didn't even bother making a series Bible before they started crapping these scripts out. People's powers, their viewpoints, even their personalities are constantly changing from one end of the spectrum to the next with no rhyme or reason to any of it. In one scene, Kara's boasting about her super hearing. In another, she can't even hear James talking about how he plans to break into Lord Technologies when she's one room away. One minute, Kara's threatening Astra with torture. The next, someone else is torturing Astra and Kara's horrified by it. Kara gives so few shits about her job at Catco that she ducks out every 5 minutes to go do Supergirl stuff, including one occasion when her doing this led to Kat's son's life being put in danger, but then she has the balls to give Kat this bullshit speech about how the job is so important to her, which I was only able to watch without vomiting all over my computer screen because Kat fell for this tripe about as much as I did and then rightfully fired Kara's ass. In a previous episode, the thought of needing Superman's help for anything made Kara practically outraged, but here she casually mentions how she might call him to help her torture Astra, and then when she really could use his help for something like, say, fighting a small army of evil Kryptonians, suddenly she doesn't feel like calling him anymore. And let's not forget Cat Grant, oscillating between altruistic do-gooder and ego-driven narcissist, firing Kara so she'd have more free time to help people as Supergirl, when until now Cat only cared about the superheroing because of how she could cash in on it. I'm sorry, writers, but as much as we'd all like to forget about them, the first 8 episodes of this show do in fact exist, and pretending they don't so you can have characters act however the hell you want them to, regardless of past behavior, doesn't make for a fun, unpredictable show. It just makes you terrible writers. And that's not even counting everything else that's going on here. They're trying to hold the episode together with this incredibly flimsy theme of not succumbing to anger and compassion being the key to victory, but just like everyone's characterizations, that only applies when the plot needs it to. And they really don't have a leg to stand on with that argument when Kara's mom flat out says that she's going to fight to save Krypton with compassion, which apparently didn't do a damn thing to stop their planet from blowing up anyway. Although, it did give us one unintentionally hilarious scene where Kara tries to save her job by appealing to Cat Grant's compassionate side. Oh man, couldn't say that with a straight face. And then Cat doesn't even blink and fires her on the spot, because welcome to Cat Grant. Add in every single asinine second of James breaking into Lord Technologies and General Lane continuing to exist as the living embodiment of the writer's sheer ineptitude, and Blood Bonds was 43 minutes of my life that would have been more productive if I'd spent them snacking on lead paint chips. I was severely tempted to give this episode my lowest grade yet of a 1 out of 10. The only reason I didn't is because at the rate this show is going, God help me, I think there's worse to come. And we'll find out if I'm right about that when I return to Supergirl in the future. And while you're commenting about how masochistic I must be to subject myself to that kind of abuse, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, smash that bell icon for notifications, and follow me on Twitter using the link in the description box so you'll always know when I upload new videos. Shout out to all my new subscribers. You guys have been blowing my mind these past couple weeks. Until next time, I'm Thorias. Over. Out.
I am Supergirl. I'm very boring.